together with what Jeremy earlier said about the idea of shields and the idea of declaring by way of symbol or words what you stand for, you're taking this idea and making the bridge from chivalry to the life of honor, to the idea of choice, to the idea of purpose, and choosing to center one's life on purposeful choices, perhaps a way to consider chivalrous conduct into a modern time. So who else is ready to come and play with this, either by reflecting back again to the core truth of what chivalry was in the first place, and then even more so in the inquiry of, so what is a way to consider these ideas in this day and age, when, as we said, it's an anything goes, cynical, polarized world. You may say one word that in someone else's cosmology of meaning means something that they disapprove of, and they shut you out of their life. They no longer are prepared to consider that you may even use the word in a whole other different context than how they hear this word. So that is the degree of the challenge. And so who is ready to come on and further build? Please, Boaz. You're on mute.
I wrote three words when Nigel was speaking. One is fairness. Fairness. And I asked myself, the sentence that came to me was, let's play fair game. What is a fair game? But fairness is deeper than this. Fairness is something deeper than fair game. Loyalty and courage. Now,
what was the third word? Loyalty and
courage.
Courage.
Yes. Now, it's very interesting that loyalty is, we need updating in every word. What is the new loyalty? To what to be loyal? Yes, because some people say, I'm loyal to the values of my generations, the recent generations, but the values can change. So things are changing in the world, and one of the part of the quest is to the adaptation of values, principle, and loyalty to what the future needs. Yes, for example, and this is part of the it's just the beginning of the search. Yes, because part of the barrier is to say I'm loyal to what was with my parents and this and this and this and this, which is loyalty to the past or to the values of the past. Now we can't be loyal to the values of the chivalry in the 16th century. Yes, we need to take the enzyme of those values and to fertilize by the East, like the East does, with this enzyme, the new values or the new principle which we adapt to the future. And this is this search is definitely starting, not just in this group, but it's in every place, because I think that the humanity feels that we can't stick to the loyalty to things which are not relevant. Yes, we need to stick to loyalty in the deepest meaning to what is current and what will be current. And this is a new, different search.
And you're proposing that inside this search, there is an invitation and a potential to search throughout the ages and find those properties or essences or enzymes, as you call them, that can become reanimated or reactivated in the currency of the challenges of this time, and would mean something new and will unlock new possibilities.
Of course.
And one of the simple thresholds or ways you're proposing to engage in this inquiry is even the research of language. Take words that we've always taken them in a particular context, like the word loyalty, and ask what would that word mean today?
Yeah.
Because there could be tremendous value in appreciating and being loyal to certain things from the past if and when you find a new, updated, current reason to uphold it, rather than this is merely a transmission down the generation line and you are simply acting on your parents' or your parents' behalf, for which, by the way, there is value as well. But the challenge you are putting in front of us, actually the honor of loyalty is not in playing out what previous generation expected you would perhaps to play out, but actually engaging in the quest or the inquiry of what would be a way to engage that property or that essence or that quality in a new way today.
Also, it's everywhere. For example, it's not fair. It's not fair to what? It's not fair. What is fairness? What is the future of fairness or today fairness? Is my attitude to fairness come from my blood, or from my tradition, or from my memories, or from my psychology? Or I can search what is fairness for real. What is fair? What is real fairness? Not what I want to be fair, to be fairness to be, because it's comfortable to me in this time.
And you had a third word, courage. What did you want to say about courage?
Well, courage is part of family, of a big family, like valor and valiance. It's the ability to go against opposition while the unknown leading you. Born out of opposition, courage is a quality that was right from the time of from the day one of the human race to search for truth, and if it needed to pay the price for it, and if it needed to fight for it, or to insist in a great power and potentiality to it, and to guarantee it. This is, as I see, courage, and all the rest of the words within the family. Yeah.
Yes.
The lower ends took it to bravery, to jump from high places. Yes, but this is not what courage I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about the courage that arises in the face of opposition, courage that's emergent when one needs to not just stand one's ground in the physical sense of defending one's land, even though that in many times required courage as well, but more in the sense of standing your ground inside yourself, in the sense of what is important for you and the values you will choose to enact and fight for. And you're also talking about courage in the sense of being prepared to step into the unknown, simply by, for example, following a passion or a conviction, or even a line of thought or a line of discovery, and let that lead you, rather than thinking that you need to know in advance what will the outcome be. That is another form of courage. So, and all those you're saying, these are the kind of trace lines that become part of the inquiry that we chose to start with chivalry. We could have chosen to start the inquiry with honor, another place. So who else is ready to step into this? And please, Marianne.
I want to add to a couple of the threads that have already been mentioned. I think it was Nigel that mentioned service, being useful. Yeah. It's very with the crowded world that we live in. It's very hard for people to find a way to be useful and to give service to something. I'm thinking, for example, if a woman has a child with special needs that is disabled in some way, she gives her life to bringing up that child. And even though she has to put her own life completely to one side, it's usually not just her, but the whole family, because perhaps the child then grows to adulthood and she's a little 5 foot tall woman and she has to help this giant young man who can't dress himself, who can't toilet himself. What courage is in that kind of action? The life of somebody like that is just, I have the most incredible admiration for that, the type of person who can do that. And where else do we see that in the world, that somebody will make a decision, make a choice, and put their lives on one side and take up some kind of service, some kind of duty. I mean, it used to be expected of young men in the past. Knights, for example, they were generally the nobility families, and they signed up to be knights because they wanted to do some sort of a duty, and it didn't happen so much in the farming and laboring class because they were too busy putting food on the table and feeding their families. But the young men of the noble family would seek to find a duty to perform. So where is that in today's world? Where do we find people who will do their duty? And like Boaz says, perhaps we need to look again at that word and update it. What is duty? What is service? Because it's hard to see people in so-called public service are very seldom absolutely selfless in it. They're doing it for their own glory or the money or whatever it is in it. There are very few real servants, public servants in the world. The chivalric orders in times past performed a public service. For example, the Knights Hospitaller protected the pilgrims on the road to Jerusalem. That was their job. And I believe that they provided sustenance and accommodation and things like that. And I think that's where we get the word hospitality. I'm not, perhaps Jerry knows, but I believe that's where that comes from. But what I'm trying to say is that it's hard to know in today's very crowded world where to find a sense of duty, a sense of honor, a sense of winning for oneself, the honor of being of service.
Yeah, thank you. This is, you are grounding this inquiry of chivalry in that clarity of this is not about fame. This is not about glory. This is not about personal achievement. The core essence of it is in this idea of being in service to a purpose or something you believe in. And how do you bring in today's, as you said, crowded, noisy, cynical, only click away for anything you want, a kind of a mindset, the idea of working hard sometime to achieve something or to refine in your character, as Jeremy said earlier, or to be in service and in duty. So who is ready to come next on this and play some more, please?
One thing that really arose in me as you were speaking, Marianne, was to do with recognition. And it does seem to me there's something very chivalrous about that, because it seems to me that to recognize, not just recognize something, but to actually confirm it, a good action, a good deed, for example, because there's much that goes on and there's much that people do in the world today that is tremendous and value rich, but so often it gets missed or taken for granted. But to confirm an act by passing a comment or just simply recognizing the fact of it can add to it and strengthen it in another, which I think is also part of what Nigel was speaking about earlier in the mutuality aspect, because when something is recognized, when something is valued and confirmed, it strengthens the bonds between people in incredible ways. And we're aware of this through experiences, many shared experiences, sometimes in more unfortunate theaters or arenas, like wartime, for example, when people have come together in extraordinary ways to make things happen that needed to happen. So I just wanted really to pick up on that aspect of recognition, because it's very powerful, and quite often it feels it's something which has started to fall away from our general ways of conduct and our general ways of behavior, in perhaps the trend of sometimes taking these things for granted, in which sometimes there can be more of a summoning to correct something if it was perhaps considered to be not quite right. But what about when things are right and are done very well? So really just to highlight that.